In this video, we're going to go over how to rationalize a denominator. So how do you rationalize a denominator? Well, you multiply the top and the bottom by the radical so that you have as many as you need for the type of the root. So if it was a cubed root, you might have to multiply by 2 of those. If it was 1, you'd multiply by 1 of them. So it just depends on the root. The higher the root, the more you need. Let's do some examples with some square roots. So in this example, we're going to be simplifying 2 divided by the square root of 7. We can't leave a square root in the denominator. And so to simplify that, as mentioned before, we're going to multiply both our denominator and our numerator by the root. And because it's a square root, it means that I only need 2 7s. And I have 1, 2 in the denominator, so I'm good to go. So what does this mean I have? The answer here is going to be a 2 radical 7 over 7. And that's going to be our final answer. Now, I didn't do any magic. Let me explain why this works. If we take the square root of 7 and we multiply that by the square root of 7, well, that's going to give us the square root of 49. But what's the square root of 49? That's right, it's 7, which we put in the denominator. So multiplying by a radical in the denominator should get rid of the radical, and the number or the thing inside of it just comes out. For example, in letter B, we have the square root of 5 over the square root of 3n. So if we multiply both our denominator and our numerator by the square root of 3n, then in our numerator, we're going to have the square root of 15n, because 5 times 3 is 15, over, and our denominator is simply going to be a 3n. And that is going to be our solution. Now take a look at letter C. This time we're dealing with a cubed root. So we're going to do something a little bit different. Now, we're still going to multiply the denominator and the numerator, but this time we have to know, what do we need to multiply that by? So there's a couple of different ways to do this, but the simplest way that I've found when you're getting started is simply to multiply by 2 of those. So now I have 1, 2, 3. So because I have 3 of those, that means my denominator will just be a 9. Now don't forget, you still needed to multiply your numerator by those 2 pieces. And so in multiplying my numerator, that is going to give me a 2 times the cubed root of 81. And now we need to simplify our cubed root of 81. So our cubed root of 81, and that breaks down into a 9 and a 9, because that's where we got it from. And those break down into 3 and 3 for each one. And because it's a cubed root, remember, we're looking for groups of 3, which we have a group of 3 right here. And so that gives us a 3, or cubed root rather, of 3, which then gives us our 2 times our 3 times the cubed root of 3 over 9. Let's just move this little piece out of the way so we have room to write our answer. Oh, that 3 didn't want to come. Which then gives us 6 times the cubed root of 3 over 9. And we can reduce, because 6 and 9 each have a 3 in common. 3 goes into 6 2 times, and 3 goes into 9 3 times. And that's going to leave us with a final answer of 2 times the cubed root of 3 over 3. Now there is another way to do that problem that I would like to show you. So, or if we have 2 times the cube root of 9, Now, 9 actually will break down into a 3 and a 3. Now, I only need 3 of those. And notice that right here, I already have 2. So I could just multiply our numerator and our denominator by the cubed root of that 3, which makes our third 1. What that's going to give me as an answer is 2 times the cube root of 3 over 3, which is our final answer. Now that way was definitely faster, but you do have to make sure that you understand how to break that down and what you need. So this way is a little bit more time efficient, and this is the longer way. But sometimes starting off the longer way until you understand it is the better way to go. So you need to decide for yourself where you're at. Let's do one more example. Let's do one like this. 3 divided by 4 times the square root of 5. How do we simplify that? Because the 4 isn't inside of the radical. What would I need to multiply by? Well, here we would multiply our denominator and our numerator by simply the square root of 5. Because remember, our directions that we only needed to multiply by the radical. So here we would have 3 times the square root of 5 over 4 times 5, because the 5 doesn't go away and neither does the 4, which will leave us with a final answer of 3 radical 5 over 20. And so that is how to rationalize your denominator.